to Katrina's Creations. This is a special video. Crystal from the Secret Yarnery tagged anybody who watched her video to go do one of these, and it sounded like it'd be fun, so I thought I would join in. So she has 10 questions for you to answer that are related to crafts. So mostly like knitting or crochet. In this case, it's more crochet. So question number 1. Does counting stitches calm you down or stress you out? Usually it stresses me out, especially as I get to the edge of the row and I'm wondering if I'm going to make it or if my stitch count's going to be off. So, because nobody wants the side of their project to do this, you know, you want it to be straight. So yeah, I would say it tends to stress me out because, especially when I get to that last stitch to see if my count is right or not. Number 2, what was your first crochet project? I was in Girl Scouts or Brownies, I forget which one. I was probably somewhere between 7, 8 years old, I'm thinking. I think I was 7 or 8 years old. And one of the badges was like a handicrafts bag or handicrafts project that you had to get a badge for. And so my mother showed me how to crochet. And I remember crocheting 4 little squares that were about like this, and then I sewed them together and they were a pot holder. And I keep thinking, if I remember correctly, my mother was making an Afghan with the daisy chain loom thing that was popular in the 70s, where you'd like wound white yarn around this round loom and then you stitched it together in the middle with yellow, and it looked like a little daisy, and then you hooked all the daisies together and it made an Afghan. I keep thinking she made a little daisy and put that in the middle of my pot holder. So yeah, and the crochet hook I used for that was one of the crochet hooks that usually came with a kit back then. It was a little red plastic one that's a little chewed on the edges because I was chewing on the hook. Yeah. So do I still have that project? That's question number 3. What did I do with my first project? I have no idea. I don't know. I don't have it. My mother, I'm sure, doesn't have it at this point. At least when we helped her move, I never saw it. So I have no idea what happened to it. Obviously, it wasn't missed, and it didn't work real well as a hot pad or pot holder anyway, because it was only like 1 row thick, so it wasn't like cushy or anything like that. You would have burned yourself had you tried to pick something up with it. Might have worked as a dish rag, but except it was done with acrylic yarn. I just remember it was brown. It was like different variegated browns. So I have no idea over the years what's happened to it. What is my favorite beverage while I am crocheting? I like tea, hot or cold. So I generally am drinking tea, either hot or cold most of the time. I'm not a huge water drinker, and I don't, since I had my bariatric surgery, I don't drink sodas. And we didn't drink a whole lot of soda anyway, so yeah, tea. I like hot tea, cold tea. I don't like green tea. Can't help it. I feel like I'm drinking something that's been strained through grass clippings. Just me, but anyway, yeah, I like black tea, really, really strong and very sweet. Not with sugar, I use artificial stuff and stick in it. And my iced tea, I do the same thing. I like it really strong, really sweet with the artificial stuff, and a squirt of lemon. So that's my favorite beverage. Question number 5. Do you buy yarn online or in person? A little of both. I'd say over the last couple years, I would say mostly online, because we haven't really gone any place where there's yarn stores. And yeah, so I haven't really bought any yarn at a store. However, I went actually, you're watching this, it's already happened. I went to a knit out with Kim at a yarn store. Stay tuned. There might be things that come home with me. So we'll have to see. And let's see, so most of it I do online, and I get very enabled with Lion Brand and Annie's. I just made a purchase at Annie's last week, so that's a video that's going to be coming up because I tried some yarns I haven't tried before, and they're all bulky yarns. So stay tuned for that one whenever the yarn comes in. Question number 6. Is there a specific stitch or technique that you dread doing? sewing them together. I'd say sewing it together. Not so much like the little pumpkins that I've been making. Those are easy and I can keep the stitches straight and everything. But like when you're sewing sweater parts together, trying to make sure everything lines up and looks good and doesn't have a big hole someplace, like lifting up your arm and there's a giant hole where you forgot to stitch something together. Not my favorite thing. So yeah, stitching things together when I finish them. Number 7, do I like my darning needles to be sharp tipped or dull tipped needles? When Krista was first talking about this and she was talking about needles, I thought she was talking about knitting needles. I don't like sharp ones of either kind. I don't like knitting needles that are sharp, and I also don't like darning needles that are real sharp. I just find that it splits the yarn, and I hurt myself. Me and sharp pointy objects are not good, so yeah, I hurt myself. There are many times I have used some really sharp knitting needles and literally poked a hole into my skin because they were that sharp, and that's no fun. So yeah, I like the duller needles. I don't like them like totally blunt, but I like them not like pointy sharp as in poke and hurt yourself. Question number 8. What advice do you have for working with fuzzy yarn? Don't. Yeah. If you watched Saturday's podcast, you heard me talking about the joys of chenille. Yeah, I don't like doing, like, chenille is very hard for me to knit or crochet with because I have a hard time keeping the tension straight, and I end up with holes, things that look like holes in my work because it's grabbed funny. But I've actually made things with like faux fur before. Knitting with faux fur isn't that bad because your stitches are held on the needle so you can see where the stitch is. But if you're crocheting, it's very hard to see where the next stitch is. So in that case, I crocheted, just like Krista was saying, into the chain spaces because it's impossible to be able to see with all the little fur things where the actual stitch is. Chenille is also very hard to rip out, by the way. I started a pumpkin, didn't like it, got a couple rows in and ripped it out, and I had to literally tug on the thing to get it to rip. And yeah, it was no fun. Number 9. What colors do you pick for fall? I like rusts. I like sage greens. I like golden colors, like gold, and I like goldeny browns. So yeah, those would be my choices. And oranges, not like bright orange, but like kind of burnt orange, almost into the rust kind of color. Yeah, I like those. And question number 10. The strangest place you found a crochet hook? The church parking lot. Actually, I didn't find it. The pastor did. Just little disclaimer here. I do not knit and crochet during the sermon, okay? But I always take my knitting or my crochet with me, tuck it into my purse, and I knit or crochet before Sunday school starts, and then between Sunday school and church, I'll pull it out and work on it a little bit. Well, one Sunday, it was apparently the crochet hook decided to jump overboard out of my pocketbook and ended up in the church parking lot, and I didn't realize it, and I'm sitting there, and the pastor walks by and hands me and says, "I believe this is yours." It was pretty easy to figure out because I was the only person that would actually bring something and crochet in church before church started, so it was a pretty good guess. So yeah, crochet hook found in the church parking lot, that would be me. So those are the answers to my 10 questions. Make sure you tune in on Wednesday and on Friday for 2 other videos this week and a special video on Saturday. So thanks so much for watching. Bye, everybody.